Hi everyone. I want to give my final thoughts on COVID-19. Now, I see this as kind of coming to an end right now, and I have a few thoughts on it. The first is, if you haven't gotten the vaccine, please get it. It's not that difficult to do anymore. You don't have to spam websites to get it, and it's really easy. The side effects are pretty mild if you even have any, and I got it. I know a lot of other people that have gotten it. It doesn't have like any long-term effects. In fact, when I was going to get it, I was sort of, and I'm always kind of scared of this stuff, that when I was younger, I didn't have the kind of drive that I have today. And I'm always worried that doing things like that will somehow affect that. I don't know where it came from. I don't want to do anything that could make it go away. So it didn't affect that. I can definitely see, especially the last few weeks, I'm just as good as I've ever been, if not better. So I don't really credit the vaccine for that. I just can see that long term, I'm the same person. It hasn't really changed much about me. So I think another reason people are afraid of getting it is because they don't trust the government, or they think there's some kind of tracking device in it or something. I can tell you that that's not the case for several reasons. One, it's just not feasible. The other is that the government's really not out to get you. I know if you're one of the people that thinks that, you won't really want to listen to me. You'll think I'm probably being paid off by them, or I work for them. But the truth is, the government, they're just like me and you. They're people trying to do their best every day, and they really don't have the bandwidth to try to mess with you. Now, I want to go into kind of what I consider to be a more interesting subject. And that is that I've seen, at least around here, there's people that even though they have the vaccine, they still want to wear their masks. And I say that because I went into a Walmart. It said right on the door, you don't have to wear your mask if you've been vaccinated anymore. And I didn't. I took mine off, and I trust science, basically. I trust the CDC when they say that you don't have any danger of getting it, you don't have any danger of spreading it, and you really don't need to worry about it once you're vaccinated. I trust the CDC because I work in a technical space where there's, organizations that give guidance such as this, and they really don't have any ill will. That's really their only responsibility, is to give that guidance. Now it's just that, it's guidance, right? You don't have to do what they say. And that's one of the things about organizations like this, is their whole role is to just give you advice, basically. They have found that trying to tell you what to do isn't really going to help anybody. And that's one of the reasons that I trust them. So my thing is that I don't see any reason to wear a mask once you've been vaccinated. Now, we can argue edge cases here, but I think the facts are that it doesn't really make any sense to go out of your way once you've been vaccinated. And yet I notice kind of this hesitancy where I live for people to stop, following the old COVID protocols, even when they don't have to. Now, there are some justifications, and those are kind of what I'm talking about with edge cases, right? So let's say, well, there's people that haven't been vaccinated, and if we don't wear our masks, then they won't wear their masks, and they just won't be honest about it, and they'll end up creating some kind of variant, right? So here's my crass view of that. That one, if you are the type of person that you say, I'm going to refuse to get the vaccine, I'm not going to wear a mask, I'm going to go into social settings, that is saying to me you want to compete in the Darwin Awards. And I'm not going to stop anyone from doing that. I don't really believe in protecting people from themselves. Now, as far as them creating variants, yeah, okay, that is possible. But you wearing your mask as a vaccinated person when you don't have to isn't really going to make any difference there. And the chances of you being one of the first people around some new deadly variant that just is coming our way, they're very low. Almost certainly you're going to hear about it on the news first. And if such a thing were to happen, then you can start wearing your mask again. But until then, it doesn't really seem to make much sense to me to wear it when you don't have to. Now, as far as setting policy, like if you're a business, I sort of understand why you might still require it for that kind of reason. But as an individual, if no authority around you is requiring it, why do people keep wearing them? And I have a few theories on this, and they're actually some things I can relate to. I went through Walmart, I didn't wear my mask, and even though most other people were still wearing it, I thought it would feel great to go into a store for the first time in over a year and not wear a mask. The feeling of, okay, things are returning to normal. But it didn't feel great. For some reason, it was stressful. Not because I thought people were judging me for not wearing it, I don't care. And not because, it was more because I kind of sensed that things were returning to normal. And that was not comforting to me for some reason, as much as I thought it would be. And I think a big part of the reason for that is that normal, in a lot of ways, was harder than the COVID protocols. The COVID protocols afforded a lot of us a lot of comfort in a way. Now, of course, there's the scary part of you might get a disease and get sick and maybe even die, but then there were things that were nice. So if you're a person that does like office type work, like I am today, it meant that you didn't have to drive to work every day. And of course, so one thing I was thinking is, okay, so next, am I going to be expected to drive to work every day again, right? Now, I already kind of know where I fall on this, and where I work, they've basically said if you want to keep working from home, you pretty much can if you want to, or you can come in as long as you're going to, commit to coming in more than half the time. You can come in and you can have your own desk and all that. And I opted for the going in thing. But I do find that it's sort of like college in a way. You sign up for a class, maybe even you're interested in that class and you want to do it. It's coming up in a week or two, and you kind of just wish you had another month or so to take a break. Kind of felt like that. I'm kind of like, can we just slow down a little bit? Was kind of how I felt. Can we just slow things down a little bit? Because this is nice and it's relaxing, and yes, I want to go back to normal, but there's something about when I look back at the time with COVID that's very comforting. And it's not just about, having to worry about waking up in the morning and driving into work every day. It's about, before, if someone asked me to do something social and I said no just because I didn't feel like it, even if it was something I was interested in, I just don't think I'm going to feel like it, or I don't feel like it, I would feel bad about that decision. I would feel both personally bad that, you keep saying no to your friends, eventually they're going to stop asking. And I'd feel morally bad that, I'm not being a good human being because I'm not interacting with others. And this kind of gave us the moral high ground to say no. We didn't even have to say no. We could, if we were asked, we could use that though. We could say, no, this is not safe. We should be doing the safe thing. We should be doing the right thing. So you could say no and have the moral high ground, and the likelihood is you wouldn't even be asked. I live sort of a double life with the whole socialization thing. They say there's introverts and extroverts. Well, I'm the kind of person that I don't enjoy doing something until I'm there, and then I'm glad I did it. But the lead up to that is painful, that I have to kind of push myself to go out and do things. And yes, I like talking to people. Yes, do people wear me out? I'd say yes. But I also get a lot of pent-up energy, and then I sort of need to talk to people. And that's one of the reasons I do this YouTube channel. COVID was sort of perfect for a person like me, that I could do what I could when I could, but it was rare. I wouldn't even normally be asked. And I always had the option to say, no, we shouldn't do it. it's the wrong thing, instead of I don't feel like it, which I always feel like makes other people feel like you don't care about them. It doesn't feel good to do that. But it doesn't feel good, but it doesn't feel bad to say, no, I want to stay safe. I think we should all stay safe. And so I think that's a big part of it for a lot of us, not really wanting to lose that control. So I think there's more to it than that, too. There's the personal level for a lot of us that, I don't know if I'm an introvert. I sort of consider myself an introvert. A homebody for sure. I'm not going out all the time. I even thought about it. I'm like, well, okay, back to normal. Guess I get to go out and party again. I wasn't doing that before. Honestly, throughout the pandemic, I'm pretty much doing the same thing I used to do. The difference is now I have an excuse. Now I don't have to feel bad about it. So there's two more things, and the next one, I don't mean to sound bad here, but when I think about the time before COVID, it wasn't as interesting as the time, the whole COVID time. It's like it's a time in history, and that time is more eventful. Think about before COVID. It was all about like the biggest things you could see analyzing the world were world politics. It was kind of the same old, same old. This person from this party doesn't like this person from that party, and it gets old quick. With COVID, there was actually something that we could look at every night, watch the news, and analyze, and think about, are we making the right decisions? Where there actually are real stakes, life and death stakes. And you could look at each state, each individual, and you could make judgments. I mean, that sounds bad, but you could analyze it. You could analyze what was going on, and that is kind of cool. It's like we were living through something that we don't really have a precedent for. We're really living through history and seeing how we as a species and as individuals dealt with it. We could think about the people that we love and, talk to them about it and help each other through it. There's something about that just made life feel more meaningful, more important. And the unknown ahead of us was in a way scary, but also kind of cool. It was neat to not really know what's going to happen in something with such high stakes, something that we don't have much precedence for, and to try to figure out what's going on was cool. And the idea of just going back to, politics, people bashing each other, your same old on the news, didn't sound cool. And if I'm being honest, the pandemic didn't really stop us from doing anything that important. I mean, even something like buying a house, that I could still do during the pandemic. I think the people I feel the worst for are people that were trying to go through college and wanted to have that college experience, because I had it. It's a staple of my life, and boy, if I were one of you guys, I would feel ripped off, if I'm being honest. Although you will be able to say that you had a unique experience, but yes, I would feel ripped off. Now, the third thing is sort of related to that. It's sort of an end of a time. And a lot of times when we're in times in our lives, we don't realize we're within that time. And it comes and goes, and we only realize when we look back that that was that time. Whether the time was good for you or bad for you, it becomes sort of a chapter in your life that you can look back on. And with this, I think it's sort of obvious that this is a chapter, that this COVID thing is definitely going to be a chapter for all of us in our lives. But this may be one of the few that we're aware is coming to an end. And I think that feeling, at least for me, the end of anything is sort of sad, even something that should be terrible. It's just, you know that this chapter is ending and you'll never be able to go back to it, no matter how hard you try. The only thing you'll have is your memory of it, and even that will slowly fade. It can't change your day-to-day back to that, no matter what. So I know it sounds weird, but I think the actual thought of the fact that this chapter in our lives is ending is not comforting. Because, I think we tend to fight against that. We tend to want things to last, especially things that we consider to be decent, but even things that we consider to be tragic or hard. Pain is normally one that we tend to want to get away from. But sometimes when we're sad even, we don't want to leave being sad. We want to feel the way that we're feeling. We don't want it to end, whatever it is, because it's become what we're used to. And change, even if it's changed back in a way to something we've seen before, is scary. And I think the biggest thing is that just the idea that you are leaving something behind in your life is, it's discomforting. And it makes me at least think about how finite we are as people, and that, we only get so many chapters until the end. Think about a good book. It's sort of like that. When you get to the end of a good chapter, or even the end of a not so good one, you're kind of not super happy that you're at the end. And maybe you're looking forward to the next one, but just the idea that it's finite sort of sucks. So I will say this, if you want to get mad at me for acting like COVID's already over, go ahead. I've had people get mad at me for a lot less than that. I'm already saying, if you haven't been vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you disagree with me on my view on wearing masks, and listen, hey, I'm not saying that you're a bad person for continuing to wear a mask. Honestly, I don't care. If you want to wear a mask, a top hat, a monocle, 24 hours a day, I do not care at all. That is your decision. Honestly, if masks become a fashion statement, I'm cool with that. I just don't care. It's your, body. It's your, choice of clothing, what you want to wear. I think it's different to mandate something versus choose to do it. So I am not saying that you shouldn't choose to wear a mask if you want to. Honestly, if you want to keep wearing it until the day you die, that's not my problem, and it's not my choice. And again, if you have the dumbest reason in the world for wearing it, it's still your choice to wear what you want to wear. And I have no problem with it whatsoever. If you think I'm minimizing COVID, then I'm sorry, I'm really not, and that's why I'm pushing people to get the vaccine. I think that's the ultimate solution. If you have technical arguments, go ahead and send them my way. I'm not saying you're a bad person for it, and I'll give you one more example. I think there are some things about COVID that should stay the way they are. So I just did a thing with some friends where we rented a movie theater. It costs like $165. If you get enough people, you don't need that many if you do the math. That comes out to be the same price as a movie ticket. And you guys, you people that know each other, your friends, you just get the whole darn thing to yourself. And I'm like, darn, I wish we could kind of keep that. I know it's not going to work out economically for these businesses, but man, I like that one to stay the way it is. This is cool. But that's not going to be the way it is. I understand these feelings of not wanting things to return to normal. I will say that I don't know that you can really fight it with either trying to argue against it or just making a statement by wearing a mask. Although again, if you want to do that, go ahead and keep doing it. I'm just trying to say that I think we should think about why we feel the way we feel, because I think to a lot of us, to admit that we don't want it to end, and we want to rationalize it, right? We want to say, well, no, it's this crazy thing could happen with COVID, and people still get COVID after they've had the vaccine, and trying to go into those arguments, when you really drill into them, they're not really valid. And I wouldn't recommend using those arguments, because I think you've been following the science up until this point. Don't mess it up at the end. Don't let the southern states yell at you and say, we follow the science, when, they're not wearing masks anymore. It's ending, and it's okay to be unhappy that it's ending. Even though, yes, it was an event where a lot of people died, it was for a lot more people, a vast majority more people, an event where society changed and things were different. And for you personally, it may have been better. It's hard to know, honestly, even for you as a person to know if it really is better for you. But it's okay to feel discomfort, because I do. I'm the kind of person that I just take it as it comes at me. I can see what's coming, and I just go ahead and do it. I'm the guy that when everybody's going to the swimming pool, I just go ahead and jump straight in, No reason to delay the inevitable. So, I hope this video has been helpful. This is the last video I plan to do on COVID. And I hope that whatever happens, we all end up better for this. I think we will. I think there are probably things we'll keep from this. And I think as people going through a trying time, even if it's horrifying and terrible, will make you a stronger person. And the idea of us all being stronger people is something that brings me comfort. Okay, guys, I hope you liked this video. I'm going to go back to doing my normal technology, how to get into IT and programming videos next week. Have a good night.